Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hitman Joe. In this episode, we will be discussing a miner, a mining ship that actually will help you mine a lot faster in game. We're going to be discussing the main components of one, pretty much a little bit of a layout on making one, some things to think about for the future, and well, the general things for a miner. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm actually going to go ahead and lay a landing gear down. Now, once I actually lay landing gear down, I'm going to go ahead and put a cockpit on there. There are two different cockpits in this game. You've got the small cockpit here, and then you've got the fighter cockpit. They each serve almost the same purpose, but they got a little bit of a different look. The smaller cockpit's going to be the small little one right here. It's actually a really good and really ideal one to have for a miner so that you can actually hide it behind the drills. And you've got this really long one. You can actually make that one, it's a lot sleeker. This one here just makes it to where it's a little bit more compact. So that's actually the one I'm going to go ahead and use. Let's go ahead and place that on here. And finish it up here. Now the reason I finished it up is I wanted to make sure to show you that this does have access points on both the front and two on the rear here. The access points are actually a good spot to go ahead and put an air vent. And the reason for the air vent is because whenever you make a cockpit for any ship, or even if you don't make a cockpit, you actually make a glassed in area, like the one right up here, there. It'll actually make it to where it's not depressurized. So we want to make sure that whenever we make a cockpit, it is depressurized. And we're actually not going to just jump in here and start losing health. Because if you notice now that I've jumped in, it actually says oxygen none off to the left, and my health is now steadily dropping. You got 65%, 58%, and so on. If I would stay in there, I would have killed myself. So I'm going to go ahead and put this air vent right on top of that access point and finish it out. Now, as of right now, even though I'm finishing it out, it's got red dots on there. That means it is not being depressurized. So I'm going to go and put my helmet on, jump right back in there, open up my control panel or the terminal, go to air vent. Right here on the bottom, it's actually going to say depressurized. I'm going to go ahead and hit on. Now, once I did that, it actually is depressurized. You notice it is now 4 turquoise or bluish color squares. It is depressurized. However, because I don't have any power in this, it's not going to depressurize at the moment. We'll get back to that here in just a second. Alright, our next thing that we want to go ahead and do is actually put drills on here. If you notice on the drill, there are a few different access points. You've got one on the very back of the drill and one on both sides of the drill. You actually got the left and the right side. They are all small access points. The access points are something you need to think about because that's pretty much where you're going to be pumping out the ore or conveying it to your cargo containers. Now, we can actually sit there and spin this around real quick. Now, I can't set it directly on the vent because that actually is taking space of it. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is set this a little bit off to the side. Now, I would like to use the back access point, so I'm going to go ahead and come down here to the conveyor block, and I'm going to go ahead and set that conveyor block right here on the side, like so. Now whenever I do that, now I can go ahead and set the drill directly on top of it, and now that access point now has a conveyor that actually will run the ore back to about right here. Now I stopped here because I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to build the back of the miner at the moment. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, now what we need is we need reactors and we need a cargo container. There are two different reactors. You have a small reactor and a large reactor. The small reactor is ideal for very, very small ships. This one here, if you notice, it's pretty small. I can set it just about anywhere I want to, but the problem is this is, again, thinking in the future. On a miner, you got to have enough thrusters on it, you know, going up, down, left, right, side to side, forward and back. With all those thrusters, this small reactor is not going to hold up. It's actually going to overload it and it's not going to work properly. Yes, we can add more than one and have multiple reactors, but I'd prefer to go with the bigger one here. Now on this reactor there is another access point on it. It's actually going to be on one side of it, actually on two sides. I can sit there and spin it around, it's on two sides. I want to make sure that because I want to make this very compact, I'm going to put it directly behind the cockpit, and I also want to make sure that I can build stuff or attach stuff to the sides and the bottom and the back of this. So I don't want the access point on the sides, back, or the bottom. But in order for me to put it on the top, it actually has to be on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and just run it right on the top just like that and set it down. Now our next thing is going to be our cargo containers. You actually have the small cargo container, medium cargo container, and the large. The small ones is actually, well, just that. It's actually a very small cargo container, and it holds a very small amount. I think it's 1,250. You can actually use multiple of those if you want to hold a certain amount, but as a miner we want to hold as much as we can at the smallest amount or smallest mass as we can. The medium cargo container holds 10,000, and if you notice it's actually got two access points. You got the very small one a little bit to our right there, actually on the back of the cargo container, and then you have the big one that's a little bit more to the left of it. We want to make sure keep those in mind on pretty much where we want to sit those. I want to actually in the future set a connector on it, so the connector is actually going to attach to the bigger one. So I want to make sure that that is actually sitting down on the bottom. So I'm going to go and spin that around real quick. Okay, now that's on the bottom. Now the small access point, that's actually where I'm going to pump the drills to. So I'm going to go and slide those to the side. Like so. Okay, so now that I've got the connecting points in the right spots, I'm going to go ahead and lay that just like so. Now, we actually do have the access point directly in the center, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this 90 out, and I'm going to lay that 90 to where it's actually going to be attached to it. Well, I put that in the wrong spot. Let's go ahead and make sure we're angling that correctly here. Just going to spin that around like so. Okay, now that I've got that angled correctly, I should have pretty much a working miner. Of course, I'm only doing one side. I'll go ahead and finish the other side off the video. I just don't want to show you, like, just waste a lot of time. But basically, this is going to be a working miner. You have a spot to sit in. You have a reactor to power it. And you have a cargo container for everything to sit in, and a drill to drill and then pump it all into the cargo container. Now, all we need pretty much is going to have thrusters. What I'm going to go ahead and do is finish this up real quick, and then we'll get right back to the thrusters in just a moment. Alright, I have now completed it both sides here. I've actually go ahead and left one of the conveyor belt things right here off. I'm going to get back to that here in just a moment once I power this up. So let me go ahead and get right up here to the access point of the reactor. Now let me throw some uranium in there. Alright, now that I did that, it is now powered up. If you notice the piping here, on the right side is a yellowish color, the lights are, and then on the right side is red. The red actually shows you that means there's something wrong with it, and that's a telltale sign that we got to fix it. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually set that part right back in there and complete it. Once I do that, it all turns yellow, and that means it's now completed and connected and ready to roll. Now we got that vent. Remember that vent I was talking to you about? I'm going to go ahead and take my helmet off, and now that it is powered up, jump on in there. It says oxygen is high and I'm not losing health. So now it is depressurized, and I don't have any issues with the oxygen or anything like that. So we're well on our way of having a working miner. Pretty much now all we need to do is make sure we have movement going on. Pretty much we're going to be looking at the small atmospheric thrusters and a gyroscope. The gyroscope actually allows you pretty much for the tilting left and right, and pretty much moving the same way I'm doing here. Pretty much all the movement you do with your mouse, that's what the gyroscope's going to allow you to do. The thrusters are going to allow you to make sure you're, well, moving front, forward, backwards, left, right, up, and down. Now we can put just one of each, two of each going, two forward, two back, and so on. However, we need to think about this right here, this cargo container. The fuller this cargo container gets, the heavier the ship gets, the more power these thrusters are going to need. So we're going to add a bit more than what we think we're going to need. Whenever adding, you need to keep in mind what you're trying to hide behind these drills. You cannot go too wide behind these drills. If you go too wide, you're actually going to get your ship stuck when trying to mine out the mountain or the ore that you're trying to do, as well as going up. The rule of thumb is pretty much you can mine, I think it's one block all the way around. Could be wrong. If I am, just go ahead and leave in the comments, let me know. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is run thrusters on here. So what I'm going to have a few going forward, right here, and on the other side. And I'm actually going to do it directly underneath as well. And the reasoning why I set that back pretty far is because there is thruster damage in this game. You don't want your thrusters to burn your drills off, and then, well, now you have a miner with no drills. So we need to make sure that we have that set back far enough away that you're not necessarily going to burn anything. Now, that's actually going to be copied forward. Now we need some downs. Let's go ahead and run the downs like that. So now we should be able to lift. Now we need some backs and sides. What we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go and flip myself over so I can actually reach or see the bottom of the ship. So I'm going to go ahead and open it, or kick my jetpack on and spin just a little bit. Now whenever I spin, I'm actually underneath, and I should be able to lay these directly on top like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and do 2 on both sides to make sure that I can slide from side to side. Now I got to make sure I spin this around so it's actually angled the way I want it to. And then now turn off my jetpack so I can spin myself right side up. Okay, so now I've got 2 forward, 2 down, 2 going each side. Now we want to make sure that we have 2 going back, so I'm going to go ahead and place some directly on the bottom right here. Spin back upside down so I can reach the bottom. Alright, so now I've got 2 facing back. Now if you notice, I'm actually keeping the bottom of the cargo container free, and that's because I actually want to set a connector on this in the future. And in order to set a connector, well, I got to have an open spot. Since I'm under here, I might as well go ahead and do that now. Let me go ahead and find the connector. I'm going to go ahead and place that on there. Once I open that up, if you notice there is an access point. Kind of only see half of it because half of it's going in the ground. I'm going to go ahead and spin that around and lay that like so. Okay, so I've got 2 forward, 2 down, 2 side to side, and 2 back. Pretty much what I'm waiting or needing now is some more going facing up to push me down, so that way I don't lose anything. If you notice, I'm actually trying to stay as sleek as possible. I can add to it if I want to on the sides to make sure that I can move. Now what I'm going to go is add a few more going back, like right here and right there. The reason for that is I want to be able to get up to speed quick and make sure that I'm actually getting where I want to go without overloading. I'm going to go ahead and take these light armor blocks real quick, fill this in so that I can go ahead and put another thruster right here. Alright, we're actually coming pretty well with this. I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, and then we'll go ahead and see what we're missing. Okay, I went ahead and completed the thrusters that we have on there now. We're going to go ahead and test this out. Let's go ahead and jump on in here, change the view just so we can kind of zoom out just a little bit. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is hit P, and P actually is like a parking brake. It unlocks your landing gear. Once I unlock that, it'll actually let me get up. Now, I just now noticed I made a mistake. I never finished it. So let me go ahead and finish that real quick. Now let's see if that actually will allow me to get off the ground. Once I let it off, okay, I can now slowly raise up. If you notice, I'm raising very slowly. That's because I told you we need to think a little bit ahead. We've only got 2 thrusters going down. So let's go ahead and make sure we land this real quick. And then go ahead and put some thrusters on. I'm actually going to go ahead and keep it up in the air real quick because I'm going to go ahead and put a gyro on there. So let me drop out of here. I'm going to go ahead and put a few more on here like so. Now that I've got those 2 on, whoop, I actually added a little bit more weight, so therefore it just drops straight on the ground. Now that I've got 4 added on there, this should be able to lift up properly. I'm going to go ahead and grab a few more motors so I can finish these out real quick and we can go ahead and test it. Alright. Can we go up? Okay, we can now go up. We're good. Alright, now that we've got this going up, I actually do not have any thrusters pointing up. So we need to put some on there. But if you notice, I can only move side to side and up, forward and back at the moment. I do not have the gyro on here, so therefore I can't actually maneuver the ship. So let me drop out of here real quick. And since I've got this in the air, I'm going to go ahead and throw the gyro directly on the bottom of the reactor right there. So let me go ahead and grab the gyro, hit my jetpack so I can go up a little bit. Now, let me go ahead and finish this out real quick. And since we are missing some thrusters for me to be able to go back down, let me go ahead and throw, I'm going to do 4 of them. I'm going to do actually 2, 1 there and 1 on the other side. Now the reason why I actually changed my mind from 4 to 2 is because I don't want to put them in front of these thrusters here because they will, again, burn off with the thruster damage. Now once you actually have it to where it can float in the air, it's actually a lot easier to go ahead and put things on the bottom. As you can tell, that's how I did the gyro. Now that I've got the thrusters on there, let me go ahead and jump in there and then we'll test it out, see how we're doing. Okay, if you notice now I can move side to side. I can tilt if I want to. I can go down, I can go up. I can go forward fairly quickly. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to go, a little faster. Now, if me trying to slow down, it actually takes a long time to slow down, but that's again because I've only got 2 thrusters facing forward. I can go ahead and add 2 more on the right there, actually right on the back. I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 more. So let me go ahead and run back to the base here. Hopefully not to like slam into it because I can't slow down very well. Let me spin around. Alright, let me go ahead and run right down in here. I'm going to go ahead and land. P to lock the landing gear, and then now I can get out. This latest patch seems to have changed your controls. It used to be T to get in and out. It is now F. Just kind of a little side note for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and put the thruster here, and then the other one on the other side, and we should be able to stop correctly now. Again, I'm out of motors. These things just like suck up motors faster than anything. Now this is not a creative. If you notice, I am actually having to get the stuff out, but I have actually mined a pretty good amount with that miner right there to make sure that I do have enough to make. I need 1 large. All right, looks like we are pretty well set up. Should have a working miner. There's a few things that I want to show you. Once you get in, hit K to go ahead and open up your terminal. Off here to the left is everything you have of your ship. Since you see all these thrusters, it's just a huge menu. I'm going to go ahead and just select the air vent, the gyroscope, and the thrusters. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and shift click all the thrusters. It just makes it a little bit faster, and I'm going to click each one. Shift click actually does all of them. Control click adds one. So now that I got the air vent, I'm going to control click and control click the gyroscope. Since I've got all those selected, I can go ahead and make a group. I'm just going to do flight systems and then hit save. I'm going to uncheck that, and then if you notice, all that stuff that I just had selected is still going. I'm going to go show block on terminal. Once I do that, it's all turned off. Now the reason why I did that is because I can select flight terminals, turn it on and off, and I'll be fine. The drills, I'm going to go ahead and just do one control for it instead of having two. So again, I'm going to make a group, turn it off. There you go. Now I've got a section. Now with me doing this, I just remembered whenever you go mining, it will get dark, so we need to make sure that we put some light on here. I'm going to go ahead and grab our spotlight real quick and see where we want to put it. I'm going to go ahead and set a block right there and then a light directly on it. Now, once we got this all set up, and you get back inside, hit K, open up your control panel. I actually have the drills, flight systems, and spotlight. Once you have all that set up in the groups, you hit G, which brings everything up having to do with your ship in a different area, so you can actually control it. Go ahead and click on the groups. This is actually the groups that I just selected. Take the flight systems, put it right down here on 1, and you can toggle it. Drills, 2, toggle it. Lights, I'm going to go with 3 and toggle it. And go ahead and hit escape. Now if you notice everything's still on, I can hit 1. There. All my engines are off. I can't do anything. I can't move. Turn it back on by hitting 1, 2. Drills are good. 3 is my light. Alright, looks like we are up and running. So let's go ahead and test this thing out in a mine. I've actually got a little bit of iron right over here, not too far away, so I'm going to go ahead and run right over there, and we'll see how well we do. Alright, I've slowed down, not quite as fast as I would like, but I did slow down. Let's go ahead and go right down inside the mine here. This is actually pretty big because, again, I have been mining. Now you can actually mine from this angle or pretty much inside. If you're outside, the camera will hit the ground or whatever, and it actually will just like go pretty wonky on you. So I'm gonna go and turn my drill on. If you notice on the left, or on the right, sorry, my mass shows 20,128. Once I actually hit the iron, it actually goes up. I'm now at 21.4, and it just continues. I'm gonna change my view. Now, if you notice, I am drilling into the mountain, and then now the lighting effect hits because I am now underground. That's where the light comes in. Just hit 3, turn the light on, now you can see what you're doing. Okay, so it looks like we are drilling properly. Go ahead and turn off and change the view. Now that connector that I put on the bottom actually has a dual purpose setup on the connector. The connector is an access port that you can actually just dump everything out of in your base. Now I'm going to just come over here to this little area here. This is actually a friend of mine's, I Fight Dirty. He actually has a base that actually has a connector on the bottom. If you notice right there is the connector. That connector, once I actually go to it, let me see if I can go ahead and do it without hitting his stuff. It actually acts like a landing gear, just like your the one that we started off with. That's why I only have one landing gear on the ship. Once I get close to it, it'll actually pull me in. Once it pulls me in, I'm pretty much stuck. I can hit P. Once I hit P, you notice I'm at 31,000 mass. P locks it, and then I've hit P again. Look at that. It completely emptied out. I'm at 20,000. It's a real easy way to go ahead and drop everything in and start mining your stuff within just a few seconds. The second purpose of this is if you have a bigger ship like this one here that I'm working on, you can actually connect to it and have small ships inside the big ships and not have a problem. I'm going to go ahead and see about getting in. I actually made this door just a little too small, which is something I'm going to have to work on here in a little bit to make it a little bit bigger so I don't have a problem. Now that I'm inside, I'm going to go ahead and try and connect, make sure that this does not go anywhere. Once I'm connected, I can hit P to lock it in, hit 1 to shut everything off, and now I can jump out. Now I've got my miner in position and locked down so I can take off in the big ship and go flying. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching how to make a miner, the ins and outs of it. And I hope that you guys have good luck in the game, have fun, as much fun as I'm having, and please do not forget to subscribe.